Hello everyone and welcome back to the daily/weekly race guide that I'm starting or carrying on in Gran Turismo Sport. This is technically week 19, although in fact it's episode number 2. And once again we're going to have a look at each of the daily races, give you some little quick tips on how to be the best you can be at each of those given events. First of all, let's jump to race A, which is at Willow Springs International Raceway, Big Willow. Now, this circuit is a very hard circuit. There are not a lot of reference points around the circuit, mainly because it's in the middle of the desert. But even so, there are a few brake markers and the little markers here, there, and everywhere. So we will be using those in the races. Plus a little bonus because, as somebody requested on the last video, and thank you for the recommendation, we are going to be using cones as well. But in terms of the race, it is 4 laps in length. Once again, a 12-player grid. And it is also a grid start. But like last time, don't worry about any penalties off the start line. You can just plant your foot and your car will instantly go. You don't even have to use traction control either. Now, in terms of the car we are using, it's the Mitsubishi GTO Twin Turbo from 1991. A car I actually really like, one of my favourites from Gran Turismo 1, so it kind of brings back a little bit of nostalgia there. Now, tyre-wise, we are using the Sports Hard tyres, and that is all the information you need for this race. That car is provided for you, you can literally jump in, and off we go, so let's do that now. So here we are at Willow Springs. You can see I was messing about there with traction control. In the end, I decided not to use it, and you can see no hassle at all. So everybody gets away cleanly, just put your foot to the floor, and off you go. And what you're going to notice in this car is there's a lot of brake weight transfer, okay? So the best thing to do here is roll off the brakes slowly, and you'll see a lot of car control in there. As well, make sure your brake balance is towards the front to try and avoid that as well. Now, you can see the German driver on the left there, just going towards the outside. If someone's on your inside, be very careful, because just as the Frenchman and the Italian in front were doing, they were on the very edge of the circuit fighting each other. It takes one little knock, and you're going to end up in Narnia. Again, here, you've got to be very careful, people diving up the inside here. And unfortunately for the Italian, I'm very well aware of him. I give him lots of space there on my head, so I don't have to leave any more room. But if somebody else goes for it and isn't quite aware, or potentially doesn't have the same skill level, you will get knocked off. So staying tight here is critical for staying on the circuit. And if you stay on the circuit, you will survive. This is a second gear corner, as I realised halfway through it. And you can see somebody else up there running a little bit wide. You're going to see a lot of people running wide there. Lots of dirt on the tyres then, which is going to cause carnage for the next corner. The last corner here, you always want to stay tight. I found it very unusual on this first lap that everybody went to the left here. You do not want to do that. And as you'll see in a second, the Frenchman's going to get it all sorts of wrong as he panics under braking. And I have to slam on there as well to avoid him. And you can see another person's gone off there to Narnia. Literally stay tight. That way you will not get sent to Narnia. Now, you can see I'm going to do a little Moses maneuver here. Just thought I'd show this. But be tight on this circuit. Stay on the inside. If someone's close to you, just stay on the inside. It doesn't matter. It's better to survive than risk trying to take a normal racing line and get smashed out. Now, an example of this is exactly here, okay? So we've got two drivers fighting. DJ Swift stays on the inside there, the Spaniard. Gets knocked in the back, but because he's on the inside, he survives. I tried to go on the outside. Unfortunately, the Croatian's going to get a bit of understeer. Pushes me off here, and I lose out from it. I managed to save the car, but even so, I've lost a position there that I could have potentially gained by trying to risk going around the outside. So don't risk going around the outside on any of these corners. You are asking for trouble if you do that. But that is Willow Springs in a nutshell. Let's jump to the menu now and have a look at Race B. As you can see on the screen, at Race B, we know the circuit and we know the category of car. So let's actually discuss more of the race details at the circuit. Welcome to Austria then and the Red Bull Ring. It's known as a power circuit in GT Sport, but we'll get to that a little bit later on. Race details are as follows. So the race is 5 laps in length. In terms of the amount of players, we're talking 16 players are going to take the start, hopefully. And in terms of how you're going to start, it's going to be a rolling start. So please don't worry about spinning those tyres up off the line. Well, you may have to worry a little bit with a quick gear change, but that's all good. As I say, this is a power circuit. So in terms of cars, you're potentially looking at any FF car. And then we're going to have a look at something different as well. Now, FF cars, the most powerful FF car that exists at the moment in terms of straight line speed is the RCZ. and no surprise, that is currently topping all the times around the world. Now, as I say, any FF car can be competitive here, so I'm going to chuck in the Audi TT as well. Obviously, being an Audi fan, it goes straight in there, but with the added downforce that car has, it may be able to overtake the RCZ into corners, because that's where that car struggles. Now, if you're not liking the FF cars in the slightest and want an alternative car, I recommend to you the Alfa Romeo 4C. That car is fairly quick in a straight line. It has brilliant handling credentials. So if you want to not race an FF and race something else, the Alfa Romeo 4C might be for you. Now, in terms of tyres, we are using the racing hard tyres here, of course, because it is a Group 4 category. They only use racing tyres here. And as always with Race B, there is no fuel or tyre wear being used here. So literally, it's an out-and-out sprint race. Go and have fun. So, did we have fun? Let's jump to a little race lap for some more little tips and tricks here at Red Bull Ring. Right at the start of the race then, and you can see here, countdown, we're starting before the last corner, so you have to be careful of wheel spin here, as you can see there, upshift to third, and watch how fast I catch up to this M4. This is why it's a power circuit. Look at the speed, and with lots and lots of straights here. So heading towards the first corner, be very cautious here. Running wide will incur penalties, and yes, this is the penalty fest of a race, so do be careful here. We accelerate out of there, and again, look at the power here. This is all about power. I said this earlier on, and you can see that right here as we charge up on the BMW. Most moves are going to be made at this turn, this right-hander. It's the same in real life, same in this racing game. So into the braking zone we go. As long as you've got the inside, you're pretty much going to have this covered. Leave a little bit of room on the exit. Unfortunately, somebody there doesn't leave room for that Peugeot RCZ driver up ahead. Now, we advance a little bit further on. You can see the penalties there. 2 people getting penalties. Honestly, throughout this entire race, there was penalty after penalty after penalty. And that's how I gained the most positions here. So come into this corner, just brake in, be very careful on the braking there. A lot of people brake well too late there. And what happens is they go too deep. You can see another penalty up ahead there. They go too deep and then they don't get around the corner successfully or very well. It's actually better to brake earlier and take a nice tight line to accelerate out, especially in an FF car, because they need to basically point and squirt with the accelerator. We go for an overtaking move here. Person turns in. It is an overtaking place there. You just got to be careful on radar. But you can see another penalty line coming up here. This penalty line not as severe as the other one, but even so, we managed to get past somebody there who had a 2-second penalty. So advance a bit further on. Again, this is another example of first corner penalties. Come through here, you'll notice 2 drivers there run wide. They're both going to get 0.5-second penalties, and because they get it there, the penalty's more severe here because they're going to get it on the back straight, basically. Again, coming up to this corner, this is a main overtaking place, so just be careful of deep dives into here. And you can see we're going to brake a lot later than the cones there. It's around the 100-meter board if you need a tip for that corner. Now, I stay in second gear here. It avoids wheel spin. So with an FF car, the whole point is you need to maintain as much speed as possible and avoid wheel spin. I'm just going to try and dive out the way here. Now, we're going to advance a bit further on here. This corner coming up is where a lot of dives happen. As I say, people brake too late for it anyway. Look at the radar. Absolutely pal drives in here. So it does get the move pretty much done. Somebody else knocks into me there. I managed to survive it because I basically saw it coming. You have to be well aware of your radar at that point in time because moves are going to happen there. People are going to dive for days into that corner. They just outbrake themselves all the time in there. It happens in any race here. Just be careful. Be aware on your radar. If you see someone pal driving in, just leave them space. They might go off to Narnia. If they don't and they make it, yeah, you lose a position, but at least you're not gone to Narnia. So, you know, it's the better of two evils, essentially. So we're going to continue on towards this last sector now. Another penalty area here. If you run too wide on this last corner here, you can see the Belgium driver there runs too wide here. Going to get another penalty for that. We're going for the undercut here, which is, or the cutback, sorry, which works well. But you're going to see the Belgium driver there get a penalty. So lots of penalties here. They're here. With this race, it's all about surviving those penalties and surviving any dives because there's going to be a lot of dives here. So do keep that in mind. And as I say, with FF cars, it's all about reducing wheel spin. So being in slightly higher gears is worthwhile doing and trying to maintain that acceleration through a corner. Just with a slight acceleration on there as you go through the corner is actually very beneficial as well. But that's going to be it for the Red Bull Ring and Race B. Let's jump back to the main menu. Race C is all about Group 3 and we are off to Interlagos in Brazil. This track is actually where they do the bouncer performance tests, or I believe they do them anyway. So let's jump there now and let's discuss the race details. Welcome to Brazil, and let's have a juicy little look at the race details. So in terms of the laps, there are 12 laps in this one, and there are going to be 20 players on the grid, so a full house here. Now in terms of the start, once again it's a rolling start, so don't worry about any grid starts here. You don't have to worry about car choice in that sense. However, Group 3 is very competitive. So what cars are at the top? What cars should you pick for the race? It may vary. Now, top of the times is the Mazda Atenza Group 3 car, which is a very fast car. It's very similar to the Nissan GT-R. Now, the Atenza, quick in a straight line, handles very well, a little bit oversteery, but one to pick. Other choices include the Toyota Supra Group 3 car. Again, that's going to be very good in the corners. It's very good at fast sweeping corners. And finally, if you want a car which is good in the race in terms of tyre wear, managing those tyres, I suggest picking the Mercedes AMG GT3 car. A very stable car, a car that can be managed throughout an entire race here at Interlagos. Now, in terms of strategy and tyres, we are only using the Racing Hard here. And in terms of fuel and tyre wear, fuel rate is at ×3, so don't worry about that fuel. And tyre wear is at ×5, so you don't really have to worry about the tyres too much. But depending on what car you pick, if you pick an MR car, your rear tyres are going to go a little bit quicker. For FR cars, the fronts may go a little bit quicker. And if you're getting a lot of oversteer, which is anticipated with racing hard tyres, you do have to be careful a little bit. And tyre conservation is kind of key in this race. Speaking of the race, let's jump to that now. And I'll talk you through some little tips and tricks here at Interlagos. So here we are. You can see I'm on fuel map 6. I wasn't sure if it would be a fuel race. Turned out it definitely wasn't, which is why I've already told you in advance. Now, you can see a normal racing start here. Now, because we have tyre wear, do remember your tyres are cold. So be very careful coming up to turn 1. Now, at turn 1, you may want to go defensive straight off the bat, just in case someone wants to launch it down there, or you want to try and save yourself. But it seemed okay in this race, so maybe it's not needed. You can see some cones here, there, and everywhere. So if you are using cones, it's more than likely they are going to get wiped out at Interlagos, I will be honest. Up ahead, you can see some side-by-side action. You're going to see a lot of action into this corner. You can see they're trying to go 3 wide there. It doesn't work out. And you can see yellow flag, so we know somebody has gone off there. And the Spaniard who I've just overtaken there just ran too deep. You'll see a lot of people out braking themselves, and this Spaniard does it a lot on the opening laps anyway. So you can see I'm close behind people here, and this is where it gets really nitty-gritty in this race. Is that everybody is so close here, so you can see lots of little contacts happening. Another person just been nudged off there into Narnia. Somebody runs a little bit deep there to try and avoid the Italian coming back on the circuit. I give him a slight tap there. That was a mistake. I nearly lose it then. I unfortunately catch it. So lots of little knocks here, there, and everywhere. So you're going to have to try and play this as safe as you can. As you see a Beetle now go off to Narnia and go rallycrossing. So you've seen there a lot in that middle sector where there's a lot of nudging. So, you know, play it safe. Brake a little bit earlier. You just sort of Spaniard hit into Tono there, the Italian. But play it safe. Brake a little bit earlier. Try and keep it tight, because if you do get nudged, you're just going to get nudged to the outside of the circuit rather than onto the grass if you're out wide. Now, this first corner, again, is going to be a big overtaking spot. So, one thing you can see are battling up ahead. Now, I openly go to the left here. It's unusual for a driver not to defend this, and I'd be very scared if I was Tono, if I was any other driver, really. You can see I stopped the car. We actually have a good little bit of a race here, side-by-side action. And this is the kind of racing you want to see all the time. So a shout out to my Italian friend there for actually giving me a good little race. Unfortunately, he's got a penalty, so he's going to have to take that. Penalty line here, not too severe. It's about right, really, with what you get in terms of the penalty. But you can see lots of action early on in this race. Now, we're just going to show you the rest of this middle sector here, because once again, more action. And it shows that contacts are concerning here in this middle sector. So, as I say, stay on the inside, keep it tight. There's some prime overtaking opportunities, especially the Senna S, and then the first left-hander in sector 2. Again, look, you see another driver go off there, another slight tap. I then get a slight tap as well. You know, you just got to play it by ear. I was being so cautious. Then the GTR slightly taps the Atenza. So when I was on the outside here, I was very scared. Don't be put in this position if you can avoid it, because more than likely you're going to get run wide. Fortunately here, the Finnish driver does give me room, so thank you very much for that. And I can continue on racing. As we are coming towards the end of the sector now, And you can see a lot of people in the fast cars, the GTRs, the Atenzas, and as I say, the Mercedes is up there as well. The Toyota Supra is also a good pick here, I must say, because it's good in the sweeping stuff. Not so good in the slow stuff, but the sweeping stuff, it's there. You can see my tyre wear there in the bottom left, and I was actually catching leaps and bounds at the end of this race, catching the people. And you can see my consistency on the right hand side. So it does show that if you conserve your tyres, you can really catch up to the leaders in this race, because I was miles behind, and then at the end I was just gaining. So something to keep in mind for this daily race C. I hope you enjoyed this weekly, daily race guide once again this week. Plenty more to come, plenty more updates to come to this as well. But that's going to be it for me now, guys. Thanks very much for watching. And just before I go, actually, there's an Interlagos race track guide there, a more detailed one if you're into that. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.